Hey everyone, welcome to Sauce's Best Catering. I am Chef Charlene Sauce, or to those of you familiar with me, Charlene the Shield. Please remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and soon on my blog we'll be offering a paid recipe section and also a teaching class via video that you can sign up for. But in the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe today to Sauce's Best Catering, and on YouTube you'll find me as Charlene Sauce. Hey everyone, happy Juneteenth weekend. So I'm getting everything together for my jambalaya. We are first slicing up the okra. I hate okra, but you know what? It's got to go in this recipe. I just hate the sliminess of it, but I'm going to take care of that. Don't you worry. Tomato sauce, or tomato puree, or even just soaking your okra in like citrus acid and water and a little salt should get rid of the sliminess that I absolutely can't stand. But you can't really make this dish without it, so you just gotta like learn to find a way to make it have a better texture that you like. My neighbor grows grows veggies across the street, so she brought me over some squash, and then everything else here is store-bought. We have green peppers, tomatoes, onions, carrots, and celery, and green onion that are gonna go in here. So I'm just gonna keep doing these, try to get them as even in size as you can, and I'm just gonna move them straight to the bowl to keep room on my cutting board. I need to get a bigger cutting board. I need to get the rest of these workbenches, and I know y'all been hearing me say that forever. But every time I'm about to do it, some other expense happens. So, you know, you just do what you can and you keep it moving. Alright, so I just want to let you know we're chopping up the vegetables, and I'll be back later on. This is basically my mise en place. Actually, earlier I had a fish head that I saved earlier and some other parts of the fish from a large carp that I made on Memorial Day. And so I used that as a fish stock, because even though we're putting shrimp into the jambalaya, we also want to really make sure that the stock has some really good seafood flavor to it too. That's how I like mine. So as you can see, we're getting these in here, and I'll be back in a bit. I just wanted to show you before I clean up my cutting board and my knives. This is our veggie prep for our jambalaya, however you want to say it. It's spelled jambalaya. So we have our carrots layer, we have celery, we have yellow squash, we have large chopped green peppers and onions, so I can dig them out of the pot for people who don't want that on their plates. Green onion and okra. The only thing we have not chopped yet is the tomatoes, and that's because we're going to do them last, because A, they'll lose too much flavor if you do them too soon, and B, because they'll cook down too much if you do them too soon. But this is what your mixture should look like. This is a 2-gallon bag, so this is a lot of veggies, and this is what's going to go in the jambalaya pot when it's time. All right, see you in a bit. All right, folks, so I'm about to grind my seasons. I have pink Himalayan salt, black peppercorn, this authentically West African pepper. It's called grains of Salim, and they look like little dried out pea pods, pepper pods, if you will. So we have that going in. We're also getting ready to use the alligator pepper pods, also known as grains of paradise. This is another authentically African season. I hate these bags, but I've got bags here I can fix them in. I have a pestle and mortar, but we're not going to use that today. Let me see if I can break this. Well, you know what, we might need to, because actually, I'm tripping. We need to use these just as they are. I think using this just as it is a great idea. So we're just going to use 2 of these today. And then lastly, we also have some authentic Jambalaya seasoning, and that'll just go in the pot, of course. So no worries there. But I just want to show you everything that was going into our little grinder here. I have regular food processors also, of course, but this is good for like grinding up your spices. The pestle and mortar can help you grind them down, or it's better when things have been roasted. But when things are just cold and hard like these are, this gadget should make life a lot easier. So I put this back in my seasoning stash area. I also have star anise in here. If you don't know what star anise is, they're pretty hard star-shaped seeds that fennel comes from. So I just wanted to show you all that. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to put it on grind. And then we're going to grind everything up. And now it has decided it does not want to cooperate. Let's make sure it's locked in right, or else it's not going to do what we want to do. Alright, we're getting there, but I just wanted to show you that it's super noisy. You can't hear me anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this so I'll be ready to put it into my food. Just real quick to show you this before I take a little break. We've prepped our chicken lollipops. You see, you've pulled the skin back. You've moved them into nice little circles on the tip. See that? So now what we're going to do, let me turn this hot soap and water off, sterilizing everything I used to create those. Because we definitely don't want no salmonella poisoning going on later today. Put my gloves on now because I'm going to put them back in their marinade bag and seal them back up until we're ready to cook them later. They'll be getting pan fried, by the way, not baked. So, but this is what they look like, just so you can see them. I'm just going to put them back in their marinade bag and let them finish doing what they're doing. Then we're going to sanitize and wash this tray out. But this is what they should look like if you cleaned and Frenched the bone correctly. And then we're just gonna seal this back up and put them back in the fridge. Like so. And that's pretty much it. And I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so we've put just a little bit of water in the roaster pot. And we're also just going to put in a little oil, mainly to create heat. Because the first part of what we do with the leg of lamb is going to be us leaving it in the foil. I marinated it. Well, I rubbed it this morning. I shouldn't call it marinate because it's a dry rub. So I dry rubbed it. You can see just some of it there on the tip. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to put this in here. I'm going to get another piece of foil though, just to make sure it's really sealed while it goes into the bag there. Alright. So I put more foil on it. Put it secure side down. We're going to turn it to 250. We're going to do a low and slow. Well, actually, we're going to go hotter first. You want to do 325, 350 first. I'm going to do 325 because it's lamb. It's a very delicate meat that you don't want to overcook. And we'll let that do that for about an hour and a half. And then after that, we'll come back and put it all the way down to 250 for a couple more hours. It is a large piece of leg of lamb, but we're cooking it so it keeps all the juices in. You do have to be careful. You don't want lamb to dry out. So I always kind of keep mine sealed so that it keeps all those flavors in there. Be back in a bit. All right, y'all. So we're getting ready to brown our sausage. I'm using smoked sausage for this jambalaya. We want to get a sear on it. Alright. I like using my black cast iron skillet for things like this. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to turn this up, get some heat going. I'm just going to open it in the pan. I've layered it with some oil and a little granulated garlic. Just so that even as they sear, they also have flavor on them. You want to wait till your pan gets hot. Don't put that in there too soon. I have 2 packs. I'm not sure if we'll end up needing to. I'm going to start my jambalaya with 1 pack. And if we end up needing to, we'll go to 2. I got a deep freezer. I can freeze what we don't eat. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Actually, I think I am going to need 1.5 just because I want the ratio of the neck bones. And I know y'all like jambalaya with neck bones. We all know what the base recipe of jambalaya is. There's no doubt with that. But we also know that one thing our ancestors taught us is we can improvise and use what we have. So that's what we're doing today. We're using what I had already here because I already had some neck bones here. Top of my lid is clean, so I'm just going to sit that other few sausages up there. Then we're going to seal these back and put them back in the fridge. They'll probably become breakfast or brunch later on this week. Alright. I made what I call a bechamel roux, so to speak, but we're going to brown that more too shortly. Or we might just put in there as it is, because we do have the Jambalaya seasoning mix, and that'll make it turn pretty brown than it normally would have been. On the lamb today, the sauce I'm going to be using on that is Hennessy and honey sauce. And then on the chicken lollipops, the sauce I'm going to be using is a peanut butter sauce. Africans use peanut butter in a lot of their cooking. My ex-husband's first wife, was Tanzanian, and he taught me this delicious peanut butter and chicken stew recipe, and also peanut butter and spinach greens mixed together. So we're just going to let this pan get a little hotter, and then we're going to start putting these in here. Well, we got a little applause. You could probably go ahead and put it here. Now, if you're deep frying something, it needs to be hotter than this, okay? Don't do what I just did if you're supposed to be deep frying something. But since we're just browning our sausages, so that, and they're easier to cut too once they've been browned and they've gotten a little crisp. So you're going to cut these up into medallions of equal size to put into your jambalaya pot. Normally, you don't want to overcrowd your pot. I know, but I'm trying to get this done. So I just wanted to show you this. You can hear the sizzle, and we'll be back in a bit later on when everything's ready to go in the pot. Alright, so just to show you how they're looking now, didn't take long at all. The beauty of the cast iron pan. I say that took about 3-4 minutes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat off. And you can do your cutting literally right here in the pan. It makes your life easier. Pop a little grease on your arm, don't worry about it. Another thing about cast iron, you can cut with a knife right in it. It is so resilient. This knife is not phasing this pan, honey. This is a, I think, 18-inch cast iron. So, back in the day, other than the 2 black chefs, one that worked for Thomas Jefferson and one that worked for Washington. And by the way, if you have not watched the documentary series on Netflix, High on the Hog, please watch it. Not just for culinary perspective, but it teaches you so much about our culture, where we came from. The city of Gita, Benin in Africa, which has the tribute to all the slaves that went through there never to return, called the Door of No Return. It's like an archway there. It's a historic location. So many of us, like myself, had no idea where we came from. We just know we come from slavery. But High on the Hog just gives you such a better understanding. All the things that people take credit for, like Martha Washington's cookbook when she really couldn't cook at all. Those were her chef's recipes. And like a lot of our culture, that was stolen. And someone else's of a lighter persuasion was put on it. You get your mac and cheese and your cornbread from Thomas Jefferson's classically trained chef. The baked mac and cheese and cornbread that we all enjoy so much. It is just, you know, watch High on the Hog on Netflix. That's all I'm going to say. And it just taught me so much. And every year for Juneteenth, I try to make dishes that are really, really, really in the spirit of our people. But this year, thanks to that show, I really dug deeper in. And I'm hoping that these dishes are something that the ancestors, those who I've never heard of from my family tree, and even my grandmother would be very happy. And I mentioned that to talk about the size of the cuts. They were making survival food, good food that was survival food. And they weren't as concerned as we are in modern culinary culture with the size of the cut. So today, I'm not going to worry too much about it either. I'm trying to channel them and just make some good food for my family that really shows the roots of what we come from. So I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so there's all those vegetables going into the pot to get ready to simmer for a bit. That's just oil with a very little amount of water. And we're going to add some other seasonings to it now. Alright. So aside from the mixture you saw me make earlier, we're going to add a little bit of cayenne pepper. Chiles is traditional, but they didn't have any at that damn store I went to. So we're using what we got. A little smoked paprika. Might not be traditionally African, but I love it in things like this. So we're going to use it. Then we're going to get into like our real deal African seasonings. We're going to use some granulated garlic for now. I do have some other garlic around here that I had earlier in my hand. Let's pray I can find it when I need it later. You can be generous with that. Garlic is used by every race just about for cooking. 1 second. I need to grab some other seasonings that are going to be important. That crackling sound you hear is that lamb going in that roaster. I keep forgetting what that sound is myself, and I'm like, what is that? All right. You're going to use a little thyme leaves. These are dried. If you can find fresh, it's better. But these are dried thyme leaves. Be as generous with that as you want. We're going to use some Slap Your Mama Cajun seasoning also. But just a little amount of that because we're primarily using our Jambalaya seasoning packet. But first I want these to reduce down some. Some ground coriander. You don't need a lot of that, but you do need it. Some ground cumin. We're also going to be adding allspice to this later. It does not go in this first batch. We're going to get to that once we get to adding the meats to this, which is not for a little bit. All right, you saw me brown off my sausage for when I am ready to put them in. The only meat that needs to go in here early is the neck bones. So they will go in sooner than later. There'll be the meat that goes in and stays in the pot the longest, and then we're going to do in layers. Also, after this cooks down for a while, we'll add this fish stock that's there in my stock pot. But for now, we're adding all those authentic African herbs that we ground up earlier. All right. Turn the heat on. Try to mix things around as good as you can so there's a nice coat of all that on all the vegetables that we prepped earlier. Let's get a good coating of that on all of those. Vegetables produce their own water, so you don't need to overwater it. You just need to put some in the bottom so that these begin to get soft and tender. So that's what I've done there. And I'll show you it real quick before I start putting stuff away and taking a break for a little bit. So now you can see what it looks like with all those seasonings on it. Alright, so we'll be back in a bit. Just look at that. Hard to see through the spoon, but I'm letting it reduce down currently. Beautiful, right? Alright, we're back. I've already added the fish stock. You gotta pay attention what you're cooking because I started smelling that scorch smell that your pot gets. I already added my roux in there. Caught it just where it got that scorchy, nasty taste to it. Alright, so we're about to add, about to add the beef neck bones for now. Because like I said, they have to cook the longest in there, okay? In about another hour, we're going to unwrap that lamb and let it do what it does without being wrapped up like it is currently. Stir your meat up in there. I'm sorry, y'all can't really see. Hopefully, y'all can see enough. Stir those neck bones all in. Again, you've already got your fish stock in there. Your sausage will be your next meat that goes in. The shrimp will be last, along with your tomatoes, which will be last. Alright, so I wasn't sure if I was going to add one or two. I think I'm just going to do one right now of coconut milk. I'm going to use the other coconut milk for our beans and rice. So go ahead and get that thick, delicious coconut milk in there. Your ancestors are smiling at you, sweetness, while you're doing this. I'm telling you. Get that in there. When we think of Caribbean food, we forget. Hold on. Okay, so I know I'm not crazy. There it is. We forget that those ancestors also came from Africa in what is now West Indian and the Caribbean. A lot of them were slaves the same way we were. So these dishes all have similar taste to them. Don't forget that. Really good. Get that taste of the tropics in there. Now you want to add your tomato paste. Most of what I'm making today will be from scratch. My red beans and rice, the beans will be from the can today. And some of the cheese from my mac and cheese will also be from the can today. Just because, you know, I'm tired. Juneteenth is kind of a party weekend also. So I had a fun day yesterday. Might or might not have had too much to drink. But definitely tired from all that festival walking here in Atlanta yesterday. Alright, so you got one large can of tomato paste in there. Stir it around, but it'll break down on its own as it heats up in the pot. So don't be overly concerned with that. Here's one of those pods of paradise. And I'm dropping our stuff on the floor. Here's one of the pods of paradise. Beautiful African flavor. Throw that piece of celery away and wash our hands. Alright. I'm thinking we're gonna add just one can of these crushed tomatoes. Very large can, by the way. There's the size of the can we're talking about. Just so you can see what we're working with here. Get that in there. We'll cover this up. We're going to let it cook on low so we don't get any more scorching of this pan. Actually, what I like to do is, because this pan can go in the oven, when I do things like this, I actually like to just go ahead and put them like directly in the oven to let them cook. Because that way you kind of,
from Silent Ghost.
That way you kind of know the scorching isn't going to happen. And so that's a lovely thing. So just want to mix all that tomato up in there good. Not going to add your salt till the end. You already had some salt on your meat. You just don't want this to get too salty. Alright. Mix that up. You'll see it's thickening really beautifully. And now, the last step is your Jambalaya seasoning. Don't use too much of it. It might make it too spicy for the folks who are eating it. So that should be fine. About half of the bag should be plenty. Let me see if that's half. Maybe just a little more and then stop it. And again, we're going to just mix everything up real evenly here. As evenly as you can. It'll be easier to stir the more it heats up. It'll be looser. I'm definitely freezing a lot of this. Because this is going to be a lot more than I know what to do with, honey. Let's see what we got. That right there, that will indeed make your ancestors very, very proud of you. Alright. Now I gotta figure out what I do with the top. To the lid. The lid, rather. Well, that's funny. Where'd it go? And this lid, by the way, is huge. And there shouldn't be any possible way it's lost. I got it. So turn it to 3. Let it cook some more. And then, after it's gone for a while longer, we'll come back, we'll move it to the oven. And we'll let that cook for a little while before our mac and cheese and biscuits and other things that need to go in the oven. I'm so excited about how good this is going to be, guys. You have like literally no idea how happy I am right now. It tastes like has a little spice, but not too much. But I know it will get spicier as it keeps going. I just want to taste it again, make sure we got the right flavors here. Yeah. That's really good. And I have already made my red dough because we're going to have red dumplings under that. So I'll see you guys back in a bit. Alright, so here we are. Just mixing the mac and cheese. So the first thing we did was we have bechamel and Philadelphia cream cheese mixture there. I did not use it all. Bechamel is a sauce you make from butter, flour, and milk. For those who don't know, I usually use Cheese Whiz as my first layer of yellow cheese or cheddar. They did not have that, so I got some canned cheese, which normally I wouldn't be caught dead using, but again, they were out of my Cheese Whiz, which I love putting in my mac and cheese. Alright, so you're just mixing that up, making sure you get even amounts of that. I know you hear that noise. Let me bring you closer and lower you down. So, whoop. Alright. That's not how it sounds. We stir your mac and cheese. Just throw the whole thing away. Give it back to them. So, then we're just going to get our other cheese in. This is sharp cheddar cheese. We're gonna mix all this in too. We want a really, 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 really cheesy mac and cheese. All right, folks. That should be plenty. And now we're just gonna stir all that in like so. Now, this is just my prep work. This is not ready to go in the oven yet because my jambalaya is still in. I know you're like, jambalaya in the oven. It's in a pot. And that way I know everything's evenly cooking without scorching the bottom. Little technique I use whenever I'm making anything like that, like a stew. At first I start on the stove top and then we go ahead and we move it to the inside of the oven for a few hours and just let it do its thing. So that's what we're doing here. And you're just trying to make sure you got good amounts of that cheese all throughout. You can put a little more on the top just for good measure to be sure, which is what we're going to do now. Pat it all down, make sure it's nice and even there. Shout out to Thomas Jefferson's chef, who was also the brother of Thomas Jefferson's black mistress. And actually both of her brothers served as his chefs at one point or another. Say, this is a Juneteenth video with a little bit of history lesson too, because you know, I just learned all these things myself, so I'm just passing along like some really good knowledge. And there's never anything wrong with having good knowledge. Alright. Put that cheese layer on top. We're just going to cover this up in foil till we come back. I got to run an errand and I'm ready to actually put this in the oven. I'm going to come back and deal with some other steps. I still need to make my biscuits. I still need to slice up my tomatoes and get my shrimp going. I'm probably going to put my shrimp on top of my jambalaya as a layer, simply because the pot is so full, y'all. I can't put nothing else in there. My secret topping to my mac and cheeses. This is going to be so good, y'all. Y'all just don't know how good this is going to be. Yum. Alright, so just like that. And we'll be back in a little while when I'm ready to like show y'all more of what I'm doing. This little mini food processor has its moments where it wants to be temperamental. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to clean up and I'll be back in a while. Alright guys, here we are. I've been cooking slow today because I was in no real hurry. But yeah, so these are the lollipops. I made sure to get my temp up with a oil thermometer up to 300, 350 before I put these in. That's what you always want to make sure you do. The lamb is done. Just got to make the glaze. The mac and cheese should be getting ready to come out the oven shortly. Just arrange those around like that. And try to put a couple more in here. Try not to overcrowd this pan. Knock my hands off here. I know y'all heard me complaining yesterday about how it was raining and stuff when we went to the Juneteenth festival. Well, flash forward to today and the sun is out, and it was also today, but I had my cooking plan for today, so that's not happening again today. Happy Father's Day and happy Juneteenth weekend. By the way, I'm a newly engaged lady as of today. Too excited. That's a black diamond and black gold, what I wanted, so kudos to him. Alright, so just wanted to show you those. I'm going to let those do what they're doing here, and we'll be back in a bit. Okay, everyone, so we're going to do a quick walkthrough because I'm exhausted. It has been too long of a cook day for no apparent reason. That's what I get for trying to do too much a day after as tired as I was from yesterday. So here we have the baked mac and cheese. And then here we have the tomatoes and shrimp that are going to go on top of the jambalaya. I didn't have enough space for them in the original pot, so I had to give them the same flavor palette and make them in that pan. We have the peanut butter sauce chicken lollipops. Look how delicious they are. The sauce is so good. Here we have our beans and rice. Can't wait to get into that. We have our sweet potato salad with an apple mustard sauce, garnished with parsley flakes. And then here we have the jambalaya. The only thing that's not here is the shrimp. It's in that second pan that I showed you. Just trying to stir all that essence up in there, mix it all back together. But you can just see all that goodness in there. We have our Hennessy and honey sauce for the lamb. And here we have the red dumplings that I made that the jambalaya is going to be served on top of. There's just one of them, just so you can see what the dumplings look like. They look much better when they're on a plate, but there you go. Pretty red dumplings in symbolism of Juneteenth. I took a pic of the cake. I don't really feel like taking that cake back out right now because I doubt anyone's getting to that cake tonight as late as we're eating. And then here we have the biscuits. Not sure why my biscuits are doing this weird stuff tonight, but there they are. But everything else is a hit. Not sure what's going on with these biscuits though. Last but certainly not least, the leg of lamb. Just like cooked to perfection. And that Hennessy sauce is going to go on that. Happy Juneteenth and happy Father's Day 2021.